wake up with regret inside my lungs. I don't wanna wake up with sadness on my tongue.
Good morning. Thank you for joining me again. This is Jasmine. If you're not familiar with me, I am somebody that's gone through a recent spiritual awakening, another one, I should say. And I've been sharing each episode a little bit more about myself, where I'm coming from, what kind of personal development work I've done to help with my spiritual awakening and my spiritual journey. I'm coming back to oneness, to self, and to God. And today I wanted to share a little bit about, I think I might have mentioned in a previous recording, I was going to share a little bit about some things some tools that I use, resources that I used, that I found online to delve into myself a little bit and try to uncover the subconscious, programming, I guess you could call it, negative, like self-limiting beliefs, things like that, as well as toxic behaviors that I was noticing were coming up for me to deal with after, this most recent spiritual awakening. Some of them I already knew about before that, but I didn't really know what to do to try to make it better, other than have, pray to God to help me. And so for those of you out there, this gives you a next step, for those of you who do have faith in God, or whatever you believe in, and you do pray to help you become better. This will take it to the next step of actually taking that into your own hands to do, because that is what I believe, what God wants us to do, what Jesus expects us to do, or whoever you believe in becoming a better person, coming back closer to God, and becoming the person that you want to see other people become in your life. If you want to reflect, other people to reflect love in your life, then you've got to become that. You've got to come back, to that. And that comes through self-development, through looking at yourself, looking at your, subconscious, self-limiting beliefs and toxic patterns and where that came from. And so I'm going to share a few tools that I found online when I discovered that, hey, this isn't just something I could pray for God to help heal me from. This is something I can actually tangibly do for myself to help myself heal, help myself become a better person, because I do not want to, continue these patterns. I have a daughter, a 12-year-old daughter, and I was seeing the patterns replaying between me and my daughter that I had with my parents, and probably they had with their parents. And so I didn't want that to continue. They were very toxic. Some of them were very toxic patterns. And I was having anger issues, honestly, just to be honest with people. I was having fits of rage, anger, and it stems from the need to control. And I didn't understand where that came from and why I had it. And so I prayed to God, like, please show me ways I can help heal this, the ways that I could actually do for myself. And I was guided to, I was already listening at the time to some, I guess it would be like self-help videos, but it wasn't really that. I'll just tell you, it was an interview between, it was at Lewis Howes, and he was interviewing Stephen Speaks. And for those of you who are probably familiar with, some of you may be familiar with those two names, they're both very popular on YouTube. And Lewis Howes used to be a pro athlete, and Stephen really helps people's relationships. But he also comes from a religious or a biblical perspective in some respects, and to where he has a relationship with God, and he really tries to do the right godly thing and provide sound, non-prideful, man perspective kind of advice for women and men. And he's helped a lot of, women and men in their dating and in their relationships with each other, as well as a relationship with themselves and God. And so something really stuck out to me, though. I was listening, not long after I had prayed that, I was listening to that podcast, to that YouTube channel interview between them, and Stephen said something. He said, I really strongly encourage people to work on their own healing right after they get out of a relationship, before they could think about getting into another dating relationship. And I really, that has something that hit home for me, because I was already praying for that, because I was just getting out of a divorce, and we had a very toxic dynamic. We had a lot of fighting, yelling, arguing, things like that. So I didn't want to be attracted to another person like that. I was starting to notice a pattern of me being attracted to men that were breadcrumbing me, men that were, in some way just not given enough, not given what I was given to the relationship. And I wanted an evenly reciprocal relationship, and I didn't know how to obtain that, but I knew it started with me. And that was when my eyes opened. It was like, okay, obviously there's some issues that I need to work on, and I need to delve into that. And that's when I started praying, God, please show me how I can, heal myself, and you can help me heal me. And so something Stephen said in there, he says, I think Lewis asked him, what ways do you recommend people do that? Or do you have ways or things that you recommend, resources or things that people can do? And one of the things that Stephen said was, I encourage people, try to write letters, make a list. He said, start off making a list of the people that have hurt you in your life, and write down the names in that order. And it didn't really occur to me until I actually did this, how profound it was to show me where those wounds were and how deep they were, because it's almost like the order, and it was the order that I wrote the names down in was like the order of the deepest wounds. The top name, the first name, being the deepest wound that I needed to look at, and so on, down the list. And the one at the bottom was probably the least, worst wound. And so I started noticing that, and I was like, wow, that's really interesting. And so what he said was, write down that list, and then write a letter to each of them. You don't have to give them the letter, but what you want to do is you want to be truly authentic and tell those people, as if you're telling them to their face, anything that you want to hear without any kind of fear. Because if you know that they're never going to see this letter, then you're going to be honest, right? You're going to put everything down there, how they made you feel, how they hurt you, what they did to hurt you, and get it all out. Tell them how it made you feel. And I didn't think it would be that therapeutic, but it actually was. It was pretty surprising, the actual emotions that came out when I was writing each letter, and how each letter brought up different emotions and to different extents. And so it was really eye-opening for me. So with one letter, the first two were my parents. Each parent was the first two. And I knew I had an abandonment wound. I knew several years ago I had it, before I ever went through this most recent spiritual awakening. But I didn't know how to heal it. I didn't know what to do with it. So I wrote them letters. With one, I was super mad. With the other, I was crying. And I felt so much better. I think what he said was, write until you feel a peace. Write until you feel like a weight has been lifted off and you feel a peace, like you got it all out. And then at the end, if you wrote a hand letter, you can burn it with intention of, I'm releasing this, to God, to the universe, whatever you want to believe. Release it to God and say, I don't want this anymore. Please take this pain from me, and I release you in love. And I say love and light. But make sure they make the intention that you're releasing this to their highest good, to these emotions, to this and this person, to their highest good, and that you send them love. With love. You releasing them with love. And you can, I actually type mine out because I don't handwrite much. I mostly type at work all day, so I can type way faster than I can handwrite. So I just typed them out, and then I deleted them when I was ready, with intention, obviously, like I just said. That was very therapeutic for me. I think that really released a lot of emotions that were pent up. Also, another thing that I began doing was find ways to love yourself, to give back to yourself, and balance out the imbalances. So I knew I had an imbalance with overgiving. That's too much feminine. Each of us has, just to stop there for a second and explain what I mean feminine. Each of us has a masculine and a feminine, like within ourselves. We have masculine traits, we have feminine traits. So a feminine trait, examples would be your nurturing side, you're loving on your family, you show empathy, you care for the family by feeding them, clothing them, taking care of the house, things like that, right? And seeing to their emotional needs. So examples of masculine traits would be you're protecting, you're providing, like you provide for the household, financially, you protect family, also like kind of like the godly head of the house, I guess in some way people believe that. You provide sound, logical guidance and things like that, for worldly affairs and things, like handle bills, you handle bills and things like that. In business, so like if you're a business owner, that's like a masculine thing to control your business, run your business, and plan things out. So I was too much of my feminine. I was overgiving. I poured love into people. I'm a very heart-centered person. I came into this life, now I know why, as a very open-hearted person, to show love, to show people true love, how God loves us. And it hurt me a lot because of the lack of boundaries. And I cannot stress to you, again, I know I said this in a prior recording, how important boundaries are in all relationships. In relationship with yourself, with God, with, everybody in your life, your children, your job, your spouse, or your significant other, whatever, your friends. I can't stress to you how important boundaries are. But that's another, I'm going to go delve into that to another episode. So I was learning that, okay, I could see where I'm overgiving to my friends, my twin flame being one of them. I was pouring love into that person, trying to show them that I really cared for them, that I wanted the best for them. I wasn't trying to control them, but I wanted them to know the truth. I wanted them to feel like, to see the truth, that they're a worthy person, that they're worthy of all that. And what was funny was that's what I should have been saying to myself. Those are things I should have been believing in myself and saying to myself, and yet I was pouring that outside of me. I was looking outside of me for validation and love when I should have been giving it to myself first. And this is where self-love is so important, and I cannot stress to you how important that is, because that's where it starts. That's where true love and unconditional love starts, is with yourself and your relationship with God. And I wasn't seeing myself as worthy. I wasn't seeing myself as a lovable person. Sorry, getting a little bit emotional there, but just to be honest, like, I really didn't see myself as that because I felt unworthy. I felt like everybody else needed love. I was okay because I knew love, and I was loved, but I wasn't given myself. And so how can I expect other people in my life to give to me equally or the way I deserve if I wasn't starting with myself and giving that love? And so I really want people to really start thinking about ways that you can show self-love. That's another tool or resource I use, was find ways to give to yourself, whether it's just 20 or 30 minutes peace in a hot Epsom salt bath or a bubble bath, glass of wine, whatever, like to yourself, just listening to your music or just relaxing. I'm gonna say some things here. It's gonna ruffle some feathers, but I'm gonna be honest and authentic here. So it could be taking care of your physical needs, as far as men, women, what I'm talking about. Now I don't encourage that. I'm not telling you to do that, but it could be things like that. And I think you know what I'm talking about with that in regards to that. But I found that I connected very strongly with myself through doing that when I felt it was needed. And to me, it connected me more to God and connected me more to my body. I felt like a lot of the times I was up in my head, up in the air. I do have air sign ascendant. I have Aquarius ascendant. So I get in my head a lot, and then I'm up in the ethers a lot. So I'm very connected to God. I know that. I was up in the I guess the ethers all the time in my head, and up, daydreaming and vision. I'm a visionary, so I would be daydreaming and like just imagining things all the time. And like, what would this be like if I did X, Y, Z, or things like that. And I wouldn't come back down to earth. And for me, the act of doing that personal thing of self-love with my body connected me more to pleasure in my body and connected me to my body. And I had never felt that sense of knowing my body until I did those things. So we're here to experience life in this human body as a spiritual being. We are spiritual beings living in a human existence, in a human body. And so I feel like that's part of the experience. For me anyway, that's my opinion. It's part of the experience to learn to fully connect with not just your spirit and God within, the divine part of you, but also the body part of you in all aspects. And for me, that really hit home, and it really helped me come back to myself in a way. So that's kind of what I want to go into that a little bit, why I feel it was important. Another ways you can give self-love is boundaries. Like I just said, boundaries is a huge way you can show self-love. It's one of the biggest ways you can show self-love. And having healthy boundaries with people. Anything that does not give you peace or joy needs to go. You need to create limitations with it or get it out of your life. And in some aspects, you may not be able to fully get it out of your life, but you can at least create some strong boundaries and limitations and protect yourself, protect your energy, protect your peace of mind. And so that's a huge way you can show self-love. Another would be, hey, if you feel like you want roses from people, go buy yourself some roses one day, if you have the finances. I mean, I'm not saying, go blow your money if you don't have it, but, do the little things for yourself that you want done for you, like by a man. Especially women. Women, show up for yourself the way you want men to show up for you. When you're, just tell yourself you're beautiful. Tell yourself you're gorgeous. Whether you believe it or not, I do believe, I'm one of those people, I believe, if you tell yourself enough and you show it to yourself enough, eventually you will retrain your brain. You will begin to reprogram your brain that you are worthy, you are beautiful, you are gorgeous, because you are. You are a beautiful being. And I don't care what you think you look like or don't look like on the outside. You are a beautiful person inside and outside, whether you want to believe it or not. But it takes sometimes reprogramming your brain, your subconscious, and your physical brain, like telling yourself, the act of telling yourself, you are beautiful, you are gorgeous. Even if you're just laying in bed one night, it actually made me cry. Okay? Like, it really made me cry when I honestly said it and I started to believe it. So, do things like that for yourself. Show up in the ways that you want a man to show up for you, in romantic ways or whatever. Take yourself out on hikes or to the beach or a nice dinner. Like, do things for yourself that you would want a man to do for you. Show up for yourself first. Because when you do that, you will begin to attract those type of people. because you will no longer put up with the riffraff, with the breadcrumbers, the people that, you know, only want to be there for a good time, not a long time. You're going to begin to see those people when you are showing up for yourself the way that you deserve and that you know you are worthy of. You're going to begin to see the breadcrumbers right away, and you're going to say, nope, you know, gotta go. Not on my watch. And you're going to begin to feel through those people really quickly, and you'll begin to attract the more the men or the people in your life that you want in your life, that deserve to be in your life, that will treat you the way that you're treating yourself already. I want to tell you a couple other ways that really helped me, that I use, the tools I still use to this day. One of them is the use of positive affirmation subliminals. And what those are, some of you may or may not know, so I'm going to explain it for those who don't know. Subliminals are messages or things that are embedded underneath like something. So like you'll have a track of ocean sounds playing or meditation music playing, and that's what all your conscious brain will hear, in your physical ear will hear. However, underneath that track is another track of someone speaking positive affirmations. I am affirmations, like I am beautiful, I am worthy, I am XYZ, you know, fill in the blank, you know, the positive things. I am abundant in finances, whatever. And I've been using those for about, I want to say close to 2 years now, and I absolutely love it. It's changed my whole way of thinking. And I believe there's been a lot of research done here in the last several years that show that subliminals actually help reprogram the brain quicker than positive spoken affirmations do. So I really fully back up and believe that, because I've seen it in my own life. I've seen my thinking change. I've seen my actions change. Just subconsciously, I just started doing new things that show self-love, that I started embodying those things. And so my personal app that I use, it is a paid for app. You don't have to use this, but I am just going to suggest the one that I use. That's called Sound, a little and sign, Soulful. So Sound and Soulful, and that's SOUND, a little and sign, and then SOULFUL. It has a 7-day free trial. It has over like 130 tracks, different subliminals in there. Each of them have 8 different soundtracks, like ocean sound, rain sound. Each of them are about 20 minutes. And they also, the thing I love about this app is it's also got stuff on there for twin flames, and it's got the written affirmations. So if you did want to know what they're saying behind the track, you could pull up on each subliminal track. You can click on a little thing, an icon, and it'll show the actual things it's speaking. And you can actually, if you wanted to verbally say them out loud as verbal affirmations, you can do that too. So I like that they offer that, because you know what's being said in the background. And I trust the source. I've followed her for 2 to 3 years now. It's from the Magnetize Yourself YouTube channel, Infinity. I really love her stuff. She's now starting to put out channeled songs and things like that on Spotify and things. But I do trust the source personally, and I recommend that as an option for people. If you're willing to do I think it costs about $19.99 a month once the 7-day trial ends. But to me, it's fully worth it. I did go without it for like a month or two, and I missed it so much. I did notice a difference in my peace. So it does help me, ground me when I hear them. And I have playlists. You can create your own playlist on there. I have different playlists for different things. One's for sleep, so I'll have it on my bedtime table and I'll listen to it, the tracks on playlists, different playlists, depending on what I want to focus on during that night. I have playlists for work, so I'll pop in my earbud, and while I'm working, I'll just have like rain sounds or meditation music, whatever, with the subliminals go in the background. Sometimes you can do it working out, you're walking, whatever. So that's a good resource as well. And I'm trying to think that, another one, a form of self-love I wanted to mention was exercise. Huge. Exercise is so huge. I began doing yoga and things like that. I was just guided to do it. I didn't delve into, let me just tell you how I got into that. It wasn't in an official yoga class or anything like that. My chiropractor I was going to for some lower back problems from my 20s was actually the one that recommended that I do certain specific stretches. Come to find out, a lot of those stretches absolutely help, with my back issues and keeping it limber and stuff, and preventing, inflammation and pain and stiffness. But I went and discovered that a lot of those were yoga poses, and so I thought it was funny. So in a roundabout way, I was guided through it through my chiropractor, and I also do some certain core exercises that he gave me to do as well, to help on that. But that has actually helped with my self-image, my self-worth. Even just the act of doing it makes you feel better. It helps release, different things in your body, healthy things, and makes you feel better and more grounded. So I strongly encourage people to do some form of exercise, whether it's stretching, Pilates, walking, whatever. Try to do something for yourself, for your body, to make yourself feel better, as an act of self-love. And I also am a big believer in grounding. If you don't know what grounding is, that's basically walking outside with your bare feet on the ground and putting your feet on the ground. It's literally grounding. There's been a lot of research done, especially in the last 10 years, about that, and the huge health benefits that it offers. The more that you ground, obviously, the better the results will be. So I try to ground at least once a day, if not more, by touching nature, by touching bushes if I'm out on a walk at work, at the office, or and I do believe that's a form of grounding as well, touching nature. They're connected to the ground like trees and stuff. Like if I can't get my shoes off, I'll touch nature while I'm walking by it or something. But obviously I try to get barefoot on the ground at least once a day, at my house, in my backyard or whatever, for like at least 5 to 10 minutes. Really, it should be done probably way more than that, 30 to 45 to an hour minimum. I'm actually looking at buying some grounding sheets for my house, or a grounding pad to go on like underneath my sheet set, so I can ground all night and have more health benefits to it. So that's another option. But these are some ways that will probably help you, and things that you can do to help. So I just wanted to offer that as an option for some people that are interested in what I did to overcome a lot of these self-limiting beliefs, grow my self-confidence, things like that, and help along my spiritual awakening and journey. All right, hope this helps some people out there, and I leave you with love and light, and be blessed.
I don't wanna wake up with regret inside my lungs.